New video footage has emerged of Ghislaine Maxwell walking around the courtyard of the prison where she is serving a 20-plus year sentence for engaging in sex trafficking unless she is granted a retrial. She's made a major move to get that retrial yesterday. I'll talk to you about that. That is as Donald Trump has basically given her a golden ticket to get that retrial by claiming that the Department of Justice and FBI file of Jeffrey Epstein was a massive hoax created by Donald Trump says Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and James Comey. Donald Trump repeated that yesterday, again, further giving Ghislaine Maxwell that golden ticket. Her family is now speaking out on her behalf, demanding a retrial, demanding a pardon. We're going to talk about that. Now, the footage of Ghislaine Maxwell walking around that prison courtyard emerged at the same time we learned new details about the video surveillance footage outside of Jeffrey Epstein's prison cell before he died, being manipulated by the Department of Justice and FBI. Now, we previously reported, it was Wired who first broke the story, how the footage seemed to have been created or merged together or manipulated using the Adobe Premiere software, where it's much worse than that based on Wired's new report. Now, also a lot of Ghislaine Maxwell's surrogates who are very close to Donald Trump, including Donald Trump's own former lawyer, are now all pushing for Ghislaine Maxwell to get a pardon or a retrial. Let me tie this all together, folks, of what's going down. So you saw there Ghislaine Maxwell walking around the prison yesterday. Now, her family put out the following statement. Let me read it for you. Now, this statement is directly linked to Donald Trump's statement that the Epstein list and the Epstein files is a Democrat hoax, Donald Trump said, created by Clinton, Obama, and James Comey. Thus, the family argues, and Ghislaine argues exactly what I said. If it's a hoax, then why'd you prosecute her for being a co-conspirator in a sex trafficking ring if you're claiming that it never existed? In fact, the president of the United States, who controls the DOJ and FBI, is saying he's seen the files and it's all fake. It's all a hoax. He repeated that yesterday on the tarmac in Maryland. All right, here's the statement from the Maxwell family. Our sister Ghislaine did not receive a fair trial. Her legal team continues to fight her case in the courts and will file its reply in short order to the government's opposition in the United States Supreme Court. Pause. In other words, Ghislaine is going right back to the Supreme Court based on what Donald Trump has just said. If necessary in due course, they will also file a writ of habeas corpus in the U.S. District Court SDNY. Remember what I said 2 days ago? I said she's going to seek a writ of habeas corpus now because of what Donald Trump said. New evidence. Donald Trump says the FBI and DOJ were involved in a hoax regarding the Epstein files. She's going to have a very good case for a retrial and may get off on that basis. I think she has a good, just think about it. She's going to say the president of the United States who's seen the files says it's all a fake. That's what I didn't have that information available to me during the first trial. That's what she's going to argue. She goes on to say, this allows her to challenge her imprisonment on the basis of new evidence, such as government misconduct that would have likely changed the trial's outcome. When they're saying government misconduct, she's saying hoax. That Donald Trump said this was all made up by the FBI and DOJ. And he said he's seen the files. Following the government's response, David Oscar Marcus, counsel of record for our sister, in her petition to the United States Supreme Court, had this comment. I'd be surprised if President knew his lawyers were asking the Supreme Court to let the government break a deal. He's the ultimate deal maker, and I'm sure he'd agree that when the United States gives its word, it should keep it. With all the talk about who's being prosecuted and who isn't, it's especially unfair that Ghislaine Maxwell remains in prison based on a promise the U.S. government made and broke. These are the sentiments with which we profoundly concur. The deal they're referring to was the 2007-2008 non-prosecution agreement for Epstein and Epstein's co-conspirators that was entered into by Alex Acosta, Donald Trump's labor secretary, during his first term. And it said that Epstein and all co-conspirators cannot be prosecuted in this district and any other district in the United States. Now, in Ghislaine Maxwell's case, the district court for the Southern District of New York said, we can't be bound by what a district court or what a deal was made in the Southern District of Florida. That doesn't apply to the Southern District of New York. That's how they got around it and prosecuted Epstein and Ghislaine, despite the fact that Alex Acosta, who was the Southern District of Florida U.S. attorney, entered the deal that bound all of the districts. So that's what they mean by a deal. That's what she's arguing to the United States Supreme Court. And you see what she's saying to Donald Trump, a direct message to him after, and she's saying, hey, you see what they're doing too? They're giving Trump the roadmap. Just say this is a deal, Donald. Just say you're a deal maker. People will understand that you got to go by your deals, right, Donald? Or, right, or we're going to go and make a government misconduct habeas corpus writ in the district court now and say, based on what Donald Trump said, it should be overturned. So how do you want to play it, Donald? And again, go back to the video I did when Donald Trump made that post. I said word for word, essentially, that was going to be the strategy. And that's exactly what they are doing right there. Now, as I mentioned, that first video footage that you saw of Ghislaine Maxwell walking the courtyard is coming out at the same time that we've learned about how the DOJ and FBI has manipulated surveillance footage of Epstein right before Epstein died. Now, I want you to think about that too. In the writ of habeas corpus filed by Ghislaine, she's going to say, and not only that, I have evidence that the DOJ and FBI have manipulated tapes. Look what they've done recently. They're manipulating evidence. New from Wired, hat tip to Wired, great reporting. Metadata from the raw Epstein prison video shows approximately 2 minutes and 53 seconds were removed from one of the 2 stitched together clips. The cut starts right at the missing minute. So we just thought it was 1 minute manipulated. Now we learned actually 2 minutes and 53 seconds were removed. The FBI's Jeffrey Epstein prison video had nearly 3 minutes cut out. Metadata from the raw Epstein video shows. Newly uncovered metadata reveals that nearly 3 minutes of footage were cut from what the U.S. Department of Justice and FBI described as full raw surveillance video from the only functioning camera near Jeffrey Epstein's prison cell the night before he was found dead. The video was released last week as part of the Trump's commitment to say we're going to get the stuff out. Wired previously reported that the video had been stitched together in Adobe Premiere Pro from 2 video files contradicting the Justice Department's claim that it was raw footage. Now, further analysis shows that one of the source clips was approximately 2 minutes and 53 seconds longer than the segment included in the final video, indicating that footage appears to have been trimmed before release. It's unclear what, if anything, the minutes cut from the first clip showed. Now, you could be saying this was done recklessly or incompetently. This was done maliciously to cover something up. But just think about it. Now that they're manipulating video footage, they give her another argument to make in her habeas corpus petition for a retrial. Look, we found out they're manipulating video footage. How are they going to now try to justify that? Now, let me show you the moment yesterday where Donald Trump doubled down on these statements that he previously made over the weekend, saying that this is all a hoax, an Obama, Clinton type of hoax. So the first clip I'm going to show you right here is Donald Trump saying, I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's boring stuff, right? So by saying that, Donald Trump is admitting that he's seen the files. It's boring stuff, he says. I've looked at it. You don't need to see it. Here, play this clip.
I know you've urged people to move on, but I'm curious, why do you think your supporters in particular have been so interested in the Epstein story?
I don't understand
about how it's been handled.
I don't understand it. Why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life. I don't understand what the interest or what the fascination is. I really don't. And the credible information's been given. Don't forget, we went through years of the Mueller witch hunt and all of the different things, the Steele dossier, which was all fake. All that information was fake. But I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. I think, well, really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going. But credible information, let them give it. Anything that's credible, I would say let them have it.
So a quick PSA for those of you on Medicare. The DOJ recently sued 3 of the largest Medicare brokers and carriers for allegedly deceiving customers, claiming to be unbiased while pushing them into plans that don't actually cover their needs, all to make a few extra bucks. Let's be real. Between Medicare scams, shady agents, and bloated insurance companies, it's way too easy to get stuck in a plan that's overpriced or just plain wrong for you. That is why I'm working with Chapter. They are the only advisors that compare every Medicare plan nationwide, and they tailor their recommendation to you so you get the coverage that fits your needs and saves you the most money. And the best part, Chapter's help is completely free. Completely free. There's no sales pressure, no pushing plans you don't need, just real advice that puts you first. People save an average of $1,100 by using Chapter. So if you're turning 65 soon or are already on Medicare, call them up at 82 Medicare. You won't regret it. Most people just wish they'd call sooner. Once again, give them a call. That's 82 Medicare, 82 Medicare. Give them a call. Most people wish that they'd call sooner. Call 82 Medicare. So then you tie that with what he says earlier in the day yesterday, where he says it's a hoax. It's an Obama, Clinton, Biden hoax, like Russia, he says. Here, play this clip.
Did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the file?
No, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen. And I would say that, these files were made up by Comey, they were made up by Obama, they were made up by the Biden, we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it, but she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. Yeah.
By the way, did you also notice who was by Donald Trump's side in the first clip that I showed? Yes, Howard Lutnick, Donald Trump's commerce secretary. Now, Howard Lutnick, who was laughing it up while Donald Trump said that the Epstein files involving sex trafficking rings was boring stuff, who's laughing it up. He was Epstein's neighbor, and he lived in one of his previous homes as well. So he lived right there next to Epstein and lived in one of his previous homes. Do you see how incestuous this world is right here, of all of these people knowing each other? Now you have also Ghislaine Maxwell's influencers who are very close to Trump. The Trump influencers and the Ghislaine Maxwell influencers, if you were to do those concentric circles, they meet right in the middle. Jessica Reed Krause, for example, she's a big fan of Ghislaine Maxwell. She wears the free Ghislaine Maxwell gear. She's got that VIP access to the White House. She was one of the people holding up the binders, the Epstein Phase 1 binders, big proponent of Ghislaine Maxwell getting pardons, and she's very, very close to Donald Trump and Pam Bondi. She goes, I'll be pushing for a retrial or a pardon until it happens, especially in light of recent news. Everyone should wonder why one woman is serving 20 years for trafficking minors to no one. And when she says to no one, she's using Donald Trump's own words. When Donald Trump said it's all a hoax, hence no one. That's how Donald Trump gave a golden ticket. And you see how Ghislaine's family is putting out that statement. Lady Victoria Hervey in Trump's orbit, VIP at Mar-a-Lago and Bedminster. You see her right here next to Kash Patel, next to Donald Trump. She goes, keep in mind, there was no trafficking, no clients, only innocent victims who were extorted for money by corrupt attorneys. Now you have Donald Trump's former lawyer, Alan Dershowitz, who was also Jeffrey Epstein's former lawyer. He's now saying there was no client list after he said there was a client list. So over the weekend, he said, yep, I know about the names. I know about, technically he didn't say there was a client list. He said, I knew that there was all these powerful people and people are being covered up for. Here's what he said over the weekend.
Let me tell you, I know for a fact documents are being suppressed. And they're being suppressed to protect individuals. I know the names of the individuals. I know why they're being suppressed. I know who's suppressing them. But I'm bound by confidentiality from a judge and cases, and I can't disclose what I know. but I hand to God, I know the names of people whose files are being suppressed in order to protect them.
And then he changed his tune, and he's previously called for Ghislaine Maxwell to be pardoned. He said over here, it's not the Trump administration. He goes, there is no list right here. There's no client list. Watch what he has to say. Here, play this clip.
Is the government hiding a client list or anything that the Trump administration could release tonight?
No, there is no client list. There never has been a client list. A client list suggests that Jeffrey Epstein made a list of people to whom he trafficked women. What there is a redacted FBI affidavit from accusers. There are several of them from accusers that accuse that accuse various people of having improper sex, and that has been redacted. The names of the people accused have been blacked out. Now, of course, because I was the lawyer and I did only investigations, I know who all these people are. I could figure out, based on everything that I saw, who Mr. X is, Mr. Y is, and Mr. Z. I can tell you right now, none of them are public figures who are currently in office. Some of them were previously in office. Some of them are dead.
Now, it should also be noted that in 1997, Dershowitz wrote a column defending statutory rape. He said that it's an outdated concept. And then he said recently in 2019, I stand by the constitutional argument I offered in my controversial op-ed. If a 16-year-old has the constitutional right to have an abortion without a state or parental interference, how could she not have the constitutional right to engage in consensual sex? Then he goes, it is obvious that there must be criminal sanctions against sex with very young children, but it is doubtful whether such sanctions should apply to teenagers above the age of puberty, since voluntary sex is so common in their age group. In other words, he's saying the age of consent should be shortly after a girl goes through puberty right there. Now, I want to remind you as well that Ghislaine Maxwell recently gave a phone interview. And I want to share you that moment from the phone interview she gave about 2 years ago, where she was asked by a great interview with this reporter, do you believe that Epstein committed suicide? And she says, no, I believe that he was killed. Here, let's play this clip right here.
Do you believe that he committed suicide? Because many don't.
No, he didn't. I don't believe he did. I believe that he was murdered.
Now, part of what I believe is going on behind the scenes, too, is that now they're going to try to appoint Matt Gaetz as a special counsel to investigate, and Matt Gaetz with his own issues, to investigate what happened with the files and then try to delay this and string this out. Lauren Boebert, MAGA Republican congressman with Benny Johnson, the MAGA Republican influencer, laid out that plan. Let's play it.
And maybe that takes that special counsel to do so. Maybe Matt Gaetz can lead the special counsel.
Would you vote in favor of that?
Absolutely. Yes. Matt spoke highly of Pam Bondi and saying, that she's the best attorney general that President Trump has had. But yeah, Matt Gaetz as a special counsel. Absolutely.
Now, you also had MAGA Republican Senator Eric Schmidt, who previously posted on February 26th a siren emoji saying, I'm so excited that the Epstein list of logs are going to be released. He's now changed his tune and thinks that nothing should be released. Here, let's play that clip as well.
I just asked because you posted, for example, on February 26th, a siren emoji, and you wrote Epstein logs to be released tomorrow. Thanks, Pam Bondi. What was released, the right-wing influencers that were given it said it was nothing new. They were very upset about it. Do you believe enough information has been shared on this matter?
Look, I mean, people are rightfully curious about this. I know I am, still am, of course. But when you're a prosecutor and you're looking at information, sensitive information that, whether you have enough evidence or not to move forward, that's a different equation than sort of political speculation that's happening right now.
So that sounds like you don't think more should be released.
Well, I don't know. Again, I don't know what she's looking at, what can be released. If something can be released, I'd love to see it. But again, when you're conducting a criminal investigation, it's a little bit different kind of scenario. So again, not knowing what she's looking at, it's just difficult to opine. And sometimes I think the best answer here is I just don't know.
Are you surprised by how upset the MAGA base has been over this?
No, I think that people feel like the government has lied to them on multiple occasions before. I certainly understand that. And in many ways, this election cycle was about the disruptors versus the establishment. So I understand the sentiment, but that doesn't have, necessarily with this individual circumstance as far as what Pam Bondi was looking at or what the FBI was looking at, whether or not there's enough evidence to move forward. I just don't know that.
Okay. But you think if it can be released, it should be released.
And so we'll keep you posted every step of the way, but those developments, we predicted it here on the Midas Touch Network. Ghislaine's family doing exactly what I thought they were going to do after Donald Trump said it's all a hoax. So as a result of what Donald Trump did, she may walk and bury the list and bury the files. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million. Thanks for watching.
Love this video? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MidasTouch and help us blow past 1 million followers.